everybody. It's lovely to see you all again. I'm Carol from the team at CJG Wellness, and today we're going to do another of our health and wellness talks because we're into helping you to live life to the full. Today we've got the new and exciting Jo-Ann and Anthony Egerton from sunny Cornwall in the UK. And they've started a brand new venture, which is called Out of the Blue. And so I'll hand over to Anthony to explain a little bit about what this is about. So hello, Anthony, and thank you so much for coming today, and Jo-Ann. And we're really excited here at CJG Wellness to hear what you have got to say. So over to you, Anthony.
Hi there. Well, sunny Cornwall is not so sunny today. It's raining and cloudy. It has been sunny. So welcome to Cornwall. We are literally almost the furthest south in the whole of the UK you can get. That's a little bit of information. So if you are coming to visit us, you have to keep on going south till you almost fall off. And then you've found us. So I just wanted to give you a bit of our history, really, and why we've started Out of the Blue. What is it that's made us start it? So Jo and I, we've been involved in the arts and counselling, therapy, healing within a church situation for practically our entire lives. Certainly my entire adult life, I've been involved in youth work, art, helping people. Even before as an adult, I was involved in youth work, and Jo's pretty well similar. So we've had a long history. I'm not going to tell you my age, so you can't work out how many years that is. But a lot of the involvement we've had has been through church life, but that's put us involved in schools, youth work, community. We've been in retirement homes. We've taken teams abroad to develop them. We've even done feeding, giving out soup on the streets. So we've got a very varied background in just helping people. Jo-Ann used to run a community, what do you call it? CIC, C-I-C, a community interest company. Yeah. So she used to run a community interest company called Birds of Paradise Arts. And that was going into schools for fun, not just schools, but going into places for fun, education and health. It's all based around her qualifications as an art therapist. So she has been doing that anyway as a career. That's been her job. I don't know how many years, Jo? 8 years?
As a qualified art therapist, 14, but 14. The actual Birds of Paradise ran for 8 years, 4 years as a kick. Yeah,
so 8 years of running Birds of Paradise. I spent 3 full-time years running and helping out on a Christian development team. So that's kind of a team where people come for a year. So it can vary from 4 people to 10 people. People come on it for a year. It's full-time, almost 7 days a week, but you do give them time off. So I used to be involved in that for 3 full years. And that is helping people develop who they are as a person, helping them develop their skills in going into schools work. We used to have a band, we used to do drama, we used to go on the streets, all that kind of activity. So I spent a lot of one-to-one teaching, mentoring people, helping people with their life, good points, bad points, ups and downs of life. And so I spent that for 3 years. So that gave me a lot of experience with just being with people one-to-one and training them and helping them. I loved it. Fantastic time. Great memories. So I did a lot of that. So a lot of schools work involved in that. Some of my history as well is I was involved in debt control, debt counselling within Barclaycard. So I did a few years of that. So that's a little hidden history that a lot of people know about me. So I did a lot of debt control.
Yeah, that's a very important one, isn't it?
It's an important one.
Yeah, I can imagine that gave you a lot of insight into situations and people.
Yeah, it does. And I was mostly dealing with severe problems, so 50 to 100,000 pound plus debts. So quite severe. So you get the insights of why people get into debt, what they're doing about it, or what they're not doing about it at the time. So it was interesting. So obviously when I left that, I went more into this church teamwork. So I came into the church teamwork off the back of being involved in that. So it's very interesting seeing how people tick. So that's quite a lot of my background. So I suppose as well, personally, one of my things that I really, really love is just going for a walk with someone, chatting to them, talking to them, befriending them, helping them, just literally going for a walk. So I used to do that a lot back in Manchester, which is where we were from. We moved to Cornwall about 4 years ago. So back in Manchester, I would just meet with people. Blokes, it was mostly blokes. I'd meet some friends in here or people I didn't really know that well, and I'd just meet them when they wanted to meet, and we'd just go for a walk. That's it. But within the walk, once a month, you're just helping people. You didn't call it therapy, you didn't call it counselling. No. Nowadays, you'd call it mentoring or life coaching.
Yeah. Just straightforward talking and befriending really somebody. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Listening to them, being a listening ear.
Being a listening ear. So I realised that I was doing it and I loved it, but you couldn't necessarily categorise it as a job. It was mostly, it's just life. But I've continued to do that here. That's what I've had a passion. When I first moved to Cornwall, I spent the first year, it's a long story this bit, but I'll cut it really short. Basically, I decided not to do a paid job. I spent the first year and I just went out almost every other day and just walked the coast, walked the beaches, sat down, had a drink with coffee, spoke to anyone who was next to me, and just did that and just befriended people. And that's, I love doing that. And I think that is, as you'll see, this is why all these things have come together and have manifested now in Out of the Blue. What was that? I've got some notes here, but just to keep me from going off. So if I do look to the left or right, it's because I'm looking at my notes. Yeah, I think one of the biggest things we've learned in life, and this is another reason why we started Out of the Blue as well, is we realize that life gets busy. Everyone has stuff going on in life. So, and people find it hard to kind of just stop, think, assess, look at things, see where life's going. They're just getting us, what's that, like a stone going down a hill, just gathering pace. And I learned a long time ago that, peace and rest is the most important thing. So when I spoke to people, it's about living, even in your busyness, in a peace and rest and contentment and fulfilment. And it doesn't matter how busy you are or unbusy you are, whether you're a big business person or not a big business person, whether you work at home, whether you have no job. If you can go forward in things in peace, rest, and fulfilment, it's very, very different. And I think, we've had a lot of issues in life. I'll leave some of it for Jo to look at. We've had good times and bad times, but we've learned from some of our bad times and good times. But even the little simple things. One example was I got diagnosed with gallstones years ago. I can't remember how many years ago now, probably 5 years ago. I had these gallstones, and the big ones. So I had two 2-centimeter gallstones. So if anyone's had gallstones, you realise they're huge. And I was basically told, they won't go away. You're just going to have pains. You either deal with it, change your lifestyle, or have the gallbladders out or whatever. Anyway, I chose to change my diet. So I decided to go for a more healthy diet. It wasn't a bad diet, but because of the gallstones, I cut out loads of sugar, cut out loads of fat and processed meals. And I can honestly say it totally changed my the way I felt. I literally, over about a few months period, I totally changed the way I felt, the amount of energy I had. And then after about 6 months, I had no issues whatsoever with my gallstones, and I've never had issues since. Not in the way I was having issues. And it's interesting that because I had to focus on the diet, that made me think, well, what other parts of my diet should I change? Should I go into, what's this organic thing? I hadn't really thought about it too much. What's about organic? What's about pesticides? What's about exercise? Do I need more exercise? And also some of the other things we're looking at is that, do I need to be more positive? Do I have to think my way to being better? And is that a good thing? Is that a medical thing? I don't know. And I started to just look at things and think, and so did Jo, and started to think, how do we live a well life? what is it in our life that needs to change? All this came for me anyway, a lot of this came from this one issue with gallstones. Got me thinking about, how do I live? How do I eat? What am I wasting? What do I need? What don't I need? Have I got clutter in my house that's just taking up space? It's amazing what comes from just the simple thing of having gallstones.
Yes.
So these are the kind of things that have led us to the way we live. So these things with gallstones, and the thing Jo will talk about perhaps in a minute, is started to really get us to think about all the little things in life that we sometimes don't think about.
Yes.
Even having too many books on a bookshelf that we never read, and
Yeah.
it takes up space. I don't know. Do we need it? Don't we need it? And we started to look at things in a balanced way, not in like an aggressive, let's be radical and chuck everything out and go and live in a tent. There's nothing wrong with that if you do live in a tent. But, you know, we weren't going radical. It was just, let's start looking at things. So why am I saying all this? You'll get the gist when you hear about Out of the Blue. I think a lot of the things as well in the past, we've always tended to slightly go against the grain of things. So if people, you know, and that's challenged other people, to be honest. I'll be honest, we've clashed with people in the past. We do things in a slightly different way. So when people are being quiet, we'd be loud. And when people are being loud, we'd be quiet, you know. Or if people would pursue a career, and I'll have to say this I don't mean this in a negative way, but when people over pursue a career, and we would under pursue a career and do voluntary work for years unpaid, like me spending the first year here unpaid, that really annoyed people. I'll be honest. People didn't understand it. Why are you not working? You've got no money. But the thing is, I wasn't working because I was finding out who I was. And as far as, obviously I'm a Christian, so I was finding out my relationship with God.
Yeah.
And after a year, I was totally different. You know, I found a new depth of peace, and and then I could go into paid jobs, and you know, in a different way. But having that year off was very challenging for a lot of people.
I can imagine. Yes. Why are you doing it?
Why are you doing it? Why are you wasting your time?
Yeah.
You've got this qualification, you've done this, you've done that.
Yeah, you could do this, that, and the other. Yeah.
Yeah. How are you using it?
Yeah.
And anyway, so that is challenging to a lot of people. But however, you know, within all of this, we've pursued peace, joy, fulfillment, happiness. And I think people slowly, hopefully, I know that some have, people slowly see the benefits of that and realize, oh gosh, there is more to life than some other things. So all these things add together and have got us to the stage of what we're doing now. So Jo was running this CIC. So we decided, we've got all these life experiences. I was involved in helping people. Jo was involved in helping people. Jo was doing art. I was doing photography. I love photography. I've got a background in painting as well. We were doing all these different things. And we decided, well, why don't we just, instead of Jo having her own business, why do we just pull it all under one big banner? So we decided it was time to start just look at what our plans were. Where are we going in life? Where are we going in jobs? Where are we going in friendships? And we decided, well, this is what we want to do. We want to be perhaps a community. So we decided to come up with a plan. And the plan was eventually got called Out of the Blue, which I know Carol will ask us about later why we called it Out of the Blue. So I'll leave that for now. But we decided to start Out of the Blue. And we'll go into what that does later, or you can obviously look at the website. But Out of the Blue just encompasses our life history. It encompasses who we are, what we've done, why we do it. And we try to put it into Out of the Blue under the things we offer from, we don't offer, as you'll see, we don't offer necessarily a product. We don't sell a product. We will do in the future, organic cotton t-shirts, things like that. We'll go into the eco-friendly products. But at the moment, what we do offer is us. We offer our experience, we offer our time, and that comes through professional therapies, which Jo will talk about maybe. It comes through counselling, it comes through me doing photography lessons, me doing, I call it, it's gone out my head, mindful photography. where I go with people to do photography. It's all about themselves really, rather than the photography. So that's, and hopefully that was clear enough. It's a lot of an overview of our history, but hopefully explains why we've gone into doing what we do. And perhaps we'll, with a bit of help from Carol, we'll clarify what that is precisely. maybe a bit later. But Jo, I think Jo's going to talk about yourself, aren't you now?
That's very good. Thank you, Anthony.
That's all right. Hopefully it's clear.
A good overview to give us that's an idea of where you're coming from. So yeah, lots of that I didn't know. So that's great. Yeah. So Jo-Ann, please.
Yeah. I mean, it's been a journey. Like Anthony said, it's out of the blue. Is very much a kind of map of the things we've accessed and used over our journey, but it's been very much a journey of the heart. I mean, being a psychotherapist, I track with trauma research, and there's a lot of research now, and there's a lot of talk around the brain, and really I would say it's been a journey of the heart, and really understanding from the moment we're born what's been kind of imprinted on our hearts. We're a wonderfully and creatively made, but our heart is recording all the time. And there are, in trauma research, there's a lot of findings now how you can, in some sense, which is part of my journey, live in the shadow of trauma, which isn't your own trauma, but from generational trauma, and research around stress being now recorded in cellular memory. And it's fantastic now for, the new generation resolving life journey issues, that there is a little bit more language for things. But for myself, I feel like I've kind of had to walk as a personal journey through my own history, as well as being a professional. So learning and following and tracking research, but also journeying through my own history. So working out generational trauma, what, the impact in the early development, because one of the things I offer is psychotherapy, which is all about your attachment, really understanding those early formative attachments that you have, and they shape how you see yourself, they shape how you see the world, and some of those don't really haven't helped people, or didn't always help myself, to live from a safe place, live from a place of being loved, live from a place of being accepted. So it's really, I've personally used the spiritual side of things. So some of the services that we're offering are inner healing prayer. So we've personally tracked with quite a few different ministries, and some of those ministries we've trained in. So Restoring the Foundations is a fantastic inner healing ministry, which looks at the spiritual foundation of your, I suppose, personal history. So tweaking areas in that. And then this Bethel Sozo ministry is it's a bit like cognitive behavioural therapy, but it tackles the spiritual side. So for people who are in a relationship with God, you often can project your life journey onto your relationship with God. So basing, what your relationship was with your father or your mother, or you might have hurts of the heart that come through your school life or friendships, but how do we project those onto our relationship with God? So those are some of the tools that I'd used, and it's taken quite a long journey of tracking with research, training in some of these things, and really, because we don't always understand everything all at once, and people often use the analogy of kind of an onion in its layers, isn't it?
Yeah.
But for me, it's been obviously Anthony said, we're Christian, so for us, our relationship with God, everything kind of pivots from that point, and our sense of self sits in that foundation. But that, to function from that safety and that security and that place of love and rest, which Anthony talked about, takes time, it takes money, and it takes energy. And because you're pursuing someone that you're passionate about and believe gives you the framework that you believe in and want to align to. So the journey of the heart has involved for me using art. I think the hand and the heart connect. And I think when I offer art therapy, and I find it an absolutely fantastic, medium to help people get below cognition to the heart, and in a very gentle way, through making art. You don't have to be good at art, because it's art making, and you are exploring what I suppose people would say is the unconscious, but connects to the heart. And then things can come up to the surface. You might see patterns of repeated themes, and then you can look at it and work out, well, where's that come from? And then over the years, I then included bits of spiritual elements to say, okay, this is the issue that's arisen. Let's look at that. Where's that come from? Or, has the artwork shown where it's come from? So it's been a journey for myself of the heart. It's been a journey healing wounds of the heart. And then from understanding where those wounds have come from, how has your behavior then, how has that behavior become out of those wounds? And then you're tweaking that behavior, looking at how you can change that. When I moved down here, I'd spent a lot of time thinking about working on my kind of psychological and my spiritual life. But when we moved down here, it was a place of peace and rest. It's a very beautiful place, Cornwall. And little did I know I was going to be, my heart was for peace. And I was like, okay, God, you're peace. So why want peace, body, mind, and spirit? I was working in crisis at the time, in the mental health crisis, working with people with trauma, and really asking for solutions. Little did I know I would have to try out those solutions that came to me, which was the healing codes. And like Anthony said, we were already walking, exercising, eating healthily, living in a place of rest. But what I learned through the healing codes was, like I said before, stress can be stored up for years, and it can then, if it's not looked at, it can manifest into disease. And unfortunately for myself, that happened. In November 19, I was diagnosed with breast cancer. So the reality of, the body, really focusing then, how do I rewire my body? I've kind of dealt with my spiritual life. I've dealt with my behavior and mental side of things to as much as I could, so for the last 2 years, it's been really walking in the land, the physical land of peace and rest, eating well and retuning, like through meditation or using the healing codes, really rewiring my body into a place of well-being. And just trying to find a new pace of living. So that has to be walked out. And many of the services that we're offering are about helping people, like Anthony said, come into a place of peace and rest. There is a place to live from peace and rest in body, in mind, and in spirit. Each person is unique, and our journey has been unique, but we hope that there are tools that people can access through us that can support that journey. We're also providing actually this space I'm in as a day retreat space. So it was a space I used, and it's a place that's been well oiled, shall we say, to receive people to spend quality time making art or meditating or having time out. And the room is in context to the beautiful Cornish landscape. It's in context to a garden and a courtyard, so people can come and have time out, have lunch, just, you know, have some space to recuperate, and mix the day up. Have half a day to yourself, and then maybe go off and have some photography with Anthony. So like Anthony said, my previous journey with the arts was very much arts of fun, education and health, and that's what's been imported into Out of the Blue. So I have walked and journeyed with many people through using creativity for fun, and home and abroad, and for education. So I've done a lot of arts awards, which is a national qualification for, well, I've worked with 3-year-olds up to 25-year-olds, and it's a fantastic tool to help people develop creativity for themselves. And it's also a tool that can help them then become a creative leader as well. So I've done that in groups, I've done that for one-to-one mentoring. So we've got plenty of sort of bespoke tools to help people grow in themselves creatively, haven't we? Creatively and spiritually, and and living down here, we have the wonderful access of the sea and the countryside, so people can access kayaking, what else, paddle boarding. There's all sorts of different things going on down here, which can really make, if you come down, if you have a holiday, you can access us, and you can access the wider services, I suppose, that Cornwall offers. Sounds like a tourist board advert. Maybe I should get paid. So yeah, I don't know if you want to kind of dive in or ask anything else about anything specific we do, or anything I've said. Like I say, it's quite a long journey, lifelong journey, really, of the heart, and us accessing different tools and some training in some. But
yeah, no, that sounds amazing. Thank you very much. I think really, if you could clarify a bit, if people came to you, what would the services be?
What would they be?
How do they actually work?
So, I mean, we can do some things online, which is, if you go on the website, each page, under the therapies and services, it will say if some things can be done online. But we have two sides to what we offer, I suppose. We have the practical art, and then the therapies, if you want to call it therapies or help. So the practical art, we can do art lessons. We do pure photography lessons, which is literally for beginners to more advanced, just to have fun taking photographs, improve your photo. This is me. Improve your just your holiday snaps. Or I can go much more advanced if you want to, and just wander around coast or the villages and so on, and I can teach how to do photography. So there's that side, and then I can also teach art, but Jo does more the art side. So you can have just art with Jo.
Art lessons, yeah.
Okay. Art lessons, so to speak, in her style. It's not less. It will be different than some. But then we offer the therapist side. So they're varied. So obviously Jo is a fully qualified art therapist, registered art therapist. So there is one side of it that's clinical therapy. Jo can probably explain that in a minute. We offer more, I suppose, traditional counselling, helping people through specific issues, just talking to them, listening to them, That
Yeah.
can be one-to-one inside a house, or perhaps with myself, it might be someone who doesn't like that, and I will take them for a walk. Just go for a walk for a few hours, and I will just listen, talk with people, advise them if they want advice. And that can just be about, I'm lost. What am I doing in life? I want to tell someone where I'm at, and they just want to talk. So for myself, I can do that through just literally walking and talking, and people find that very beneficial.
Yes, I think that's a fantastic thing to offer. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like it's kind of a mentoring, but in a very low key, relaxed way in the countryside. Jo offers art awards. You can perhaps talk about that in a minute. That's quite specific and professional help as well. So Jo, you're best talking about the more.
Yeah, that's fine.
Focusing.
So because obviously having worked we were based in Manchester, for people who are international we were based in the outskirts of a major British city, which was Manchester, and for a lot of my prior work, I was working as an art therapist and as an artist in secondary school, in primary school. Did I say artist as an artist and as an art psychotherapist? So working with very vulnerable and complex individuals, and working alongside other statutory and voluntary sector services. I was working often as well within the community setting. So I set up pathways to support people. So if I ran for after school art space for parents, and often they were homeschool parents or parents that had special needs children. It was a safe space, and it was part of a cherished pathway. So if they weren't they could come to that weekly, but if they needed specialist support as well, I could work with the parent, or I could work with the child to do art therapy. But I also had volunteer roles for young adults who again needed additional support. So they were planning workshops, part of the Arts Award. One of the levels is the Silver Award. So they had a leadership role. So I mentored and helped them plan workshops in the Family Art Club, but they also developed their own art practice. So the Arts Award are fantastic, like I said, to facilitate a young person. Well, little ones can do it, but for the older ones up to 25, it's fantastic for them to come along and say, I've got a creative idea, I need an advisor, I need someone to keep me on track so I can fulfill the criteria for this award. So one girl wanted to explore tattoo designing, so I found places for her to go, because obviously I was with her in person, but if I was mentoring someone online, it'd be like, okay, so who could you go and speak to develop that, to go and talk to a tattoo artist. And they also need to go and sort of do some workshop experience. So where's your local theatre then, if that's your interest? Where, how can we get you connected to arts organisations? So it's developing their own practice, but it's developing their art leadership role. So that's one. All the details of what you're qualifying in for a young person is on the website.
Yeah.
So the Arts Award is a great sort of tool for young people to develop their own art practice and develop their art leadership role. Like I said, I offer psychotherapy, so being creative based, I'm happy to do it both online, and I'm happy to include creativity or not. Some people just want to talk, some people don't. And we also, I also offer more of a well-being touch-based session as well, because some people don't need to kind of go back as far as deeper, or look at attachments and the history of where things have come from. People might just want some well-being tools around a specific issue, so that how am I thinking about something? I'm just thinking, I wrote some things down. So well-being tools can be like looking at unhelpful thinking styles, self-compassion, 5 ways to well-being. So am I connecting out enough? Would a new interest really help me? Exercising. There's national, in Britain, there's 5 ways to well-being are quite a standard thing to kind of connect yourself to, because they're researched things that can really boost your day-to-day sense of well-being. Yeah, so there's many people might have anxiety, may have depression, or they may have just a life issue that they just want to touch base for an hour and say, can I just think about this, and can we look at some tools, some practical tools, solution focused tools to help me day to day move on from this, or sort of put into my life to help support me. So we can do that in an hour session. I used to do it in crisis as well, so people, you know, had an hour, and it's amazing what you can really put into someone to help, you know, what tools you can help someone with to help someone, you know, move forward. What else do we do, love? The decluttering is great. I mean, that's something that in some sense I'd say was brewing for a long time, because more people I was kind of meeting, I mean, we know, don't we, just in COVID, the amount of activity of people moving and having to work at home and change. There's been a lot of change, hasn't there, in people's lifestyles. Yes. And we were seeing this happening well before COVID. People either were working on themselves spiritually, people were working on themselves mentally, or people sensed there was a change coming. So they started thinking about whether they knew where they were going to or not. They had a sense of a change. So they started thinking about their living, what they were living with. Because as we know, when we want to move house, it's quite a lot, isn't it, to have to suddenly think about. So if there's a kind of inkling of a change coming, getting prepared is helpful. And that's very much happened with people I've worked with. Some people will work with me. I worked with a young adult for 12 months, 15 months, and she was independently decluttering, but I was working with her on the spiritual side of her life. And I've worked with other people who have worked with other people counselling, but they've worked with me doing the decluttering. So on a person's journey with Anthony or myself, we can bring into play whatever the person needs, because we recognise that people are working at a body, mind and spirit level, and there's no wrong or right, because as you journey forward, you might have to do a bit of that at any point to bring about transition or to support the change you're in. Because a change, you might do some decluttering work physically, arrive in the new location, but need some sort of mental health support or well-being tools, because it's normal, and there's a lot of stigma around mental health. But the reality is, if we're all honest with ourselves, we all cope with change in different ways, don't we? Yeah. And sometimes tools we've got, we think they are user-friendly through our whole life, but the reality is sometimes some of those coping mechanisms become a little bit worn out or don't work anymore. And we need to touch base with someone and say, I'm struggling with that, or now I'm here, I'm not quite getting that, or why am I still not handling, something. So so we do the decluttering as another option to help and support people. It's a practical service, but it also fits in with the mental health, the well-being of our whole self, doesn't it?
Yeah. Well, it all goes together, doesn't it?
It does. Yeah. So hopefully it's not coming across as too heavy, because it is a practical service, and it's a very valuable service. So if someone comes to me and says, we want to do decluttering, it doesn't mean then I'm going to be like, oh, have you thought about the mental health side or because because that might not be relevant to someone. Someone actually just wants someone to say, like someone I've worked with recently, they needed to create a workspace in their spare bedroom because their work with COVID had shifted the pattern of working. Having only moved prior to 2 years, they hadn't still unpacked properly, really. So arranging the whole apartment and creating an office that felt nice to work from and separate from the rest of her living room was a really important thing. And that, in context to someone's busy life, we had to look at, well, how much time can I allocate to that decluttering process? What's the deadline? When do I need to get into that room? And how am I going to do it when I'm doing this job, doing that job? So having someone to really reflect and make a practical plan. Okay, I can do 15 minutes a week, or I can do 20 minutes a week on a Friday over 10 weeks or something, can get me to sitting in my nice office with my now clients without it being in my personal space. So it's really wonderful and really varied how people are really addressing well-being from their, work life, family life, practical living, eating. We're not obviously experts on nutrition, but that's part of the discussion that we would look at, especially in a well-being appointment, because then people can then address that.
That sounds amazing, what you're talking about. So, and I know how important that decluttering can get. And somebody you can just talk it through with. The other things you were talking about, the healing codes, and you do sozo as well, don't you?
Yes, so on the website we have, we've been very clear, the journey we've been on, and the ministries that we've accessed, and we've listed the ones we've accessed, and then we've actually put what we're trained in. So we have trained in storing the foundations, but we wouldn't say we offer that. I've trained in Bethel Sozo. So for people that don't know, Bethel Sozo is a healing ministry that came out of a church in California. And I've trained in the basic Bethel Sozo, the advanced Bethel Sozo, and the art Sozo. And I've also journeyed with, I'm trying to think, I've accessed Lie Busters for myself and found that really useful. That's not something I've trained in. And I've used healing codes. So that is something I'm looking at as well, building into future courses because people can buy the book and access it for themselves. So it's definitely something that I would guide someone to and explore with someone in a session. So there's what we're saying really is there's many tools and inner healing models that we've accessed to inspire us in our approach to someone coming for a session. No,
that sounds amazing. And I need to clarify what your website address is. So out of the blue family.
Anthony?
www.outoftheblue.family.
Yes, I think we need to say that.
We went for something slightly different. Instead of .co.com, all that kind of stuff, we put the family on because part of our future plans is community, it's family, it's more relaxed in some respects. So outoftheblue.family.
Right, lovely. No, that sounds amazing. And thank you so much for coming on today and sharing what you do with the CJG Wellness community. Because I'm sure we will find it very useful. And the fact that it's so varied, really, you're prepared to do a bit of this and a bit of that sort of thing, that people can actually come to you, talk to you, and work out what would be best for them. So they can make it a very personal therapy and time with you. Yes, so that is amazing. So thank you very much.
Thanks, Carol. Thank you for having us on.
No, well, thank you for coming. It's something very new and very different, and I think, well, I know it will be very much appreciated. So I'll say thank you to you, and thank you to the CJG Wellness community for listening. And so it's Carol from CJG Wellness signing off, and we'll see you again next month.